Following is a conversation with Vincent Lima, who is an indie folk singer-songwriter who I had the pleasure of talking to. We talk about what it means to be an independent artist, finishing an album, as well as a little bit of mythology. Vincent is wrapping up an East Coast tour at the moment and released an album earlier this summer entitled Visions of Uncertainty. I hope you enjoy the conversation I had with Vincent Lima. Yeah, so we are excited to have Vincent Lima, Wesleyan hockey legend, owner, CEO, CFO of Vincent Lima Music. On, man, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it's amazing to be here. Yeah, this is it's always fun to podcast. I don't get to do it often.
Yeah, so for anybody who maybe hasn't heard your music before or is unsure of the kind of music you make, maybe just kind of walk us through how you would kind of describe the music that you make.
Yeah, this is a good question. I haven't had a lot of success describing the genre that I'm in, which is usually a good place to start. I would say it's folk tangent style of music. I think if you like Hozier, if you like Noah Kagen, if you like Dermot Kennedy, I fall into that sort of balladeer, emotionally lyric-driven music. I write very kind of emotional, very deep-cutting, thematic type songs. So I would say if you're a fan of that genre, my music falls somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think I would probably agree with that assessment for sure. You have a new EP out, Versions of Uncertainty. I think that's the name of it. Follows along the Greek mythology of Orpheus and Eurydice. Just kind of curious, did you always plan to make an EP kind of loosely based about that, or just kind of happened?
No, it just happened. I was a very, very avid Greek myth reader when I was very young. I loved Percy Jackson, but even before then I had a book of Greek myths when I was probably 6 or 7. And I just was very enamored by all the lore and the world and the characters, as I think a lot of kids growing up and people well into their 20s and 30s and adulthood are. And yeah, the story is a little bit complex, but I kind of wrote the first half of this song Orpheus before it was called Orpheus, and the chorus was sort of like turning around and looking at something that kind of disappears and exists somewhere between life and death, and being a memory and being the last real thing you have. And at some point it kind of clicked in my mind that it was a lot like the myth of Orpheus, and then I kind of brought that into the song, and it opened up this entire world where I was intentionally kind of writing from that scope, which is cool.
Yeah, I think I can't say that I've honestly listened to a ton of music where it loosely follows that, and I think that's really cool and does give a lot of I don't want to say emotion to it, but it gives you like a lot of places to start from and really kind of build from, and I think that was really cool in listening to it.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I think it kind of like it created this second layer of narrative that I think it gave me a way to access something a little bit deeper, and it also gave me a little bit of comfort, just kind of drawing inspiration from this very famous allegory for grief and kind of putting my own experience with grief into it. Yeah, it deepened the song for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So kind of growing up, what was the music scene like in your household, or what your parents listened to?
I can barely even answer this question because my parents didn't really listen to music at all. My dad loved classical music. There was always sort of like just some sort of classical or maybe jazz music that was just like this comfortable background, but I kind of had to find my own musical taste, and I did so through friends and neighbors. And weirdly enough, my older sister got very into pop punk when she was probably 9 or 10 or 11, and then kind of passed that down to me. And the two of us shared a little first generation iPod that we would make playlists together, and she was kind of my foray into music, really.
Yeah, I mean, assuming your sister is in the millennial spectrum, it would 100% make sense that she's into the pop punk life. As I think all of us kind of hit at one point or another.
I hit it hard.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I don't think a lot of people probably know, but you've recently kind of started doing this full time. For the longest time, it was a little part-time thing for you. So talk about the transition kind of from doing it part-time, working, a part-time job on top of it, now to kind of doing it full-time, and what that looks like mentally and emotionally for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been my dream since I was probably 5 years old to do this. For whatever reason, I always wrote original music, even before I knew I had anything to write about. I was kind of always writing songs, and I would listen to, all my pop punk band, like Sum 41 and Three Doors Down and Green Day and all those very angsty bands when I was young, and kind of imagine myself doing it. And I didn't start putting out music until 2018. And I didn't really put it out like to launch a career. I kind of put it out for very sort of personal reasons. And it kind of steadily grew for the better part of 5 years. I was working, a desk job. And it was really after I put Orpheus out that I kind of saw the future, and I started connecting with a lot of people, and I started realizing that it could be important to people that weren't me in a really cool way, that I started accessing just like this really human thing with complete strangers on the internet. And then I started playing little one-off shows, and a couple people would show up that I didn't know, and then it became my everything. I was just sort of like, I have to make this work however I can, because it's the only identity I've ever really had for myself was this. And it took a very, very long time. But yeah, the transition has been beautiful. It's hard for sure to like go from not doing this to then touring a lot. But at the same time, it's just, I'm so grateful I even have the opportunity to play. A lot of it was because I've made a lot of very close friends that invited me on tours. I kind of got a taste for it. I didn't know if I even could do it, and then I sort of did it. I loved it. I met so many people. Like, you hang at the merch booth after shows and you just sort of hear all these stories, and you get this very broad spectrum of humanity that you don't get before. And yeah, it's been, sort of the joy of a lifetime to even do this for the first 5 months or 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I know kind of for me when I transitioned to full time, I mean, obviously in a much different spectrum, like structuring my life around, not having, a day-to-day 8, 10, and whatever hour job was a little bit of a struggle, and really only recently kind of figured that out to where it wasn't like crushing my soul every day, that if it wasn't feeling productive. And is that something you've had to navigate, or kind of transition pretty smoothly into?
I mean, I was working like pretty crazy hours before this. So, I mean, I'm working, I guess it's different because now my life is like touring and then not touring. And I knew the only time I could do this full time was sort of like when I knew I could tour for as long as possible, to avoid that sort of just like, what am I doing now kind of thing. Because I write alone. I produce with one person. And so the operation is so limited in scope in terms of people and scheduling. It would be very easy for me not to have a lot to do, because I'm so sort of like solitary with how it all works. So touring has been the answer to that. And then the in-between times now, things are so busy and there's so much to do and so much to plan. And I'm trying to stay 6 months ahead of myself, in plans and schemes and projects and all that. But it took probably, 3 months of kind of like, okay, I'm my own boss now. You open up your own little company kind of, and like, you have to honor yourself as your only employee.
Yeah, I think at least for me, that was definitely the hardest part, is like, I'm the only person working on this. I could do it whenever I want, but if I wanted to like be as successful as I think it could be, it's like, putting in the time and kind of really avoiding the distractions that can come with it. So kind of with all that encompasses like being an artist nowadays, right? Like, you're not only writing music, touring, social media is like really the bigger part of it, it feels like. How do you kind of handle all that? Is the social media part something you enjoy doing, or is it just kind of, the necessary evil to an end kind of thing?
I honestly love it. I love parts of it, I would say. I kind of realized in 2022, I kind of, as everybody eventually realized, that TikTok was sort of the only way to get control of any audience. First of all, to find an audience, and then to sort of control how you message to that audience and how you connect with people, which was a really cool thing. And I started posting, and, nothing was really doing. And then finally, one day, like, a TikTok got 1,000 views, and, I got 300 new streams on a song from it. And I realized I could connect really directly with people. the part I really love that I think wouldn't be surprising if anybody listens to this that knows me is Instagram is kind of my place that I spew nonsensical thoughts. It's not like a business strategy. It's just sort of like I have an audience now to just like say some stupid thing that comes into my mind and then get a response to it and talk to people about it. So I really enjoy the community building aspect of it because this operation is only as strong as the people that are consuming it and that are supporting it and that believe in it in the way that I do. And yeah, I like to say like I finally found an audience of people that are listening for the same reason that I'm putting out music, which I don't know, that's kind of like everybody's dream. And I couldn't have done it without social media. So yeah, like I don't love that I have to try to go viral every time for a song, but I've found a really beautiful base of people that have kind of stuck around for the last year that make me like, if a song doesn't go viral, I still feel a lot of gratitude and fulfillment that, those people will still listen and will still enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get that. I think kind of speaking to your Instagram, that was kind of one thing I had written down that I think it's super funny, like the level of unserious nature that comes across your Instagram versus the the very like heavy tones that your music does carry. I think it's hilarious, and it makes you it makes you human, right? Like that's my biggest thing is when I started this, like I never wanted to lose like person aspect of it. I always felt that like these influencers were like became this completely unreachable thing that like they lose like a humanity level to it. Never ever wanted to be that. So I think you make serious music, but you have a very unserious like part of it. I think that's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's a place, for that sort of celebrity. I can't, even if I wanted to, I could never be that. It's just, I don't take myself seriously enough, obviously. But it's also like my music only worked in the first place because it was like a part of the real experience that I've had with like very difficult feelings. And the flip side of that is just, showing people that I am a real person and meeting people at shows. I'll never be someone where you show up to a show and you look at me and, I'm like larger than life. It's just sort of like a guy singing about feelings that everyone shares.
Yeah. Yeah. That for me was like the biggest part of this too, is like, I never wanted to, like you said, like feel larger than life. Like I'm just a dude from nowhere who shares music, like happen to get popular. I feel like it's a very lucky thing at times. And I try not to like overhype myself on the spot that I'm in. So yeah, I think just the longer you could stay like realistic or humble about whatever you're going through, it goes a long way.
I feel like you like did the same thing. Like you had this very human thing that was working. That was like the reasons why everybody else wanted to find music, but maybe couldn't in a certain way, and they didn't know how to find these things that they really needed. And you were very good at articulating. If you like something, here are a lot of other things, and you clearly have a great mind for it. But it's your career started because of how human you were. Yeah, I mean, I found you long before you found me. Like
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That part always kills me too. Is like not in like a bad way, but like I hear so many people that are like, we've followed you for a long time. I'm like, sick. Like I don't know. Like it's just a weird concept to me.
It's a really weird thing, but it's funny because like I've gotten over that a little bit. A good example is I know Jonah Kagen, who is now like one of my closest friends in the world. I was like a huge fan of his for probably the better part of 2 years. Like The Roads showed up on my Spotify Wrapped like a year before I knew him, and now we're like friends. And I toured with him, and I sang The Roads with him every night on his tour. Like it was weird at first to be like, dude, I love you, like, and you don't know who I am, but now we're just, he's just a guy. Like I'm just a guy, he's a guy. We're just friends now,
Yeah, I definitely find myself in that spot too, where like, this opportunity, just talking to people whose music that I admire, it feels like I try to keep it like not very fan to me,
Yeah.
And so it's a fun time though. So I'm curious. I talked to somebody else about this too, but kind of retrospectively looking at branding or like kind of having everything named after myself in a way. Is there like any extra pressure that you feel from having a solo project name, not having like an actual project name, but right after you?
Yeah, it's a little bit too intimate, I would say. In a certain way, it's like scary. to be just me, and like my whole career now hinges on like this working, which is just me. Like there's not like a ton of veil, and I know a lot of artists struggle with that too. There are a lot of like, you know, pretty famous examples of artists that don't find the balance that's healthy for them. I just feel like the community that's built around this, or that's building, has been so genuine, and I feel like I like actually know a lot of people just from Instagram interactions and in-person interactions, that it's not weird. Like nothing weird has happened. It doesn't feel like people are being weird. Like I think a lot of that is because this isn't like, I'm not a celebrity. I never really will be a celebrity, no matter how far this goes. I think Noah Kahan's a good example too, where it just feels very genuine what he's done. And I think the people that are now like really following along with him are so genuine that it protects him and allows him to have a little bit of space, because people are protective over him, I think. I say that as a fan. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is the beginning of my career. I'm so unknown in so many ways that I'll probably have a very different answer to this question in, you know, a year, assuming anything progresses.
So kind of, I guess even in the 5-6 months that you've been doing this solo, is it given you, you know, obviously there's like a hope around touring and hope around like making new music and connecting with people. Is there like a spot where you feel like I don't want to say like a moment that like really made it feel like, wow, like I'm doing this, but yeah, I guess kind of, is there anything key that's happened in these 6 months where you're like, you know, you did the right thing and it feels...
Yeah, I would say headlining was always kind of, I think it's probably every artist that loves playing live, which is not every artist, but every artist that does love to play live. I think headlining shows is a very crazy experience, you know, shows where people show up to. And, you know, I started noticing on some of the support tours that had quite a few people coming up to me after saying, and I would ask too during the sets, like, how many of you know me? And, you know, after, some people would be like, oh, we knew who you were. We were so excited to see you. And I said, I wonder if I could do my own shows in these, you know, 200 cap rooms. And so, yeah, we did. I opened up for Darren Kiely in November of last year at Mercury Lounge, which is a 250 cap in New York. And that was when I kicked off my kind of May little scattered headline run. And we sold out Mercury Lounge, and I was kind of on that stage looking out. You know, it's pitch black in the room because that's how I like it. And I was kind of like, this is real now. Me about 6 years to get to this point, but I'm in the same place that I was 6 months prior as an opener. And it's so different when you walk out on stage and the whole audience or, you know, give or take, you know, came to see you. It's a really weird thing, but it took me a while to like feel deserving of it, honestly. And I think it's still so early that I don't know that I ever will. But there's a really human like exchange that happens at my shows, which has, you know, been another thing that's been difficult to grasp, because the show is not, it's not like a light show. It's a, you know, there's a lot of heavy songs, and but those are the moments when you talk to strangers after and you're like, oh my God, we've been through so many of the same things, and you found me like online, or you found me somewhere else, and now we get to have this like really cool thing. So again, we'll see. But the headline stuff has been crazy.
Yeah. I mean, first off, like, even congrats on that. That's like,
no, thank you.
Even, I don't think people understand that, like, even a 250 cap room, like that's really big, even for,
so
you
many.
know, you just, yeah, it's so many people. Like I've had, like I had like 10 people recognize me at a festival. I'm like, let's, you know, pump the brakes a minute.
Yeah,
and then you have
yeah.
like 250 people buy tickets to see you. That's huge.
Yeah. It's cool. And after like meeting them too, and you know, at first, like I watched Darren. He would go, because he's such a genuine guy, and he would go to the merch booth after, and he would stand there and he would look everyone in the eye, and he would make everyone feel seen, and he'd take pictures. And at first, I was so put off by the like. I was like, why does anyone want a picture with me? You know, like real, like I would always ask, be like, really, you want a picture with me? And then eventually you just realize you just like exchanged a very deep thing, and it's cool to memorialize that.
Yeah. You talked about kind of like the feeling of deserving, and you know, I know that's something I struggle with just on a day-to-day basis, let alone, you know, in the space that I'm in. Is there something, you know, how do you kind of work on that? What do you do to work on feeling like, you know, normalizing the feeling like, oh, I do belong here?
Yeah, I'm still working on that. I don't know that I'll ever feel it. I don't know that anybody, I don't know. I guess I'd have to talk to like a Noah Khan type to be like, do you feel like you deserve this? You've reached crazy heights. Yeah, I think like the best thing that I've found that works is trying to find the balance between like, because like obviously you have to search for an audience and you always have to put stuff out looking beyond what's already in front of you. And it's been important to me to try to address what's here now as much as I can to, the people that are already following along and that are going to shows, to look at those people and just say, I also can't believe this. I can't believe that you think this is what it is and that you're making it what it is. And like practicing a lot of expression of gratitude makes me feel a little bit more grounded, just to make sure that people know that I don't take any of it for granted and that even the chance that I have to make this a career is what I've dreamt about since I was 5. So I don't think I'll ever feel deserving of it, especially if it progresses even a step further than it is now. It already has gone so crazy. But it's, again, I just feel like there's a community, and the community is a lot of like-minded people. And it does kind of just feel like we're all experiencing it together, which is a strange thing, but it's very cool.
Yeah. Have you found that, I know you've kind of toured with friends or people that you've, kind of made friendships with, but have you found everybody to be, receptive of that and, kind of welcoming and advice giving? I'm not entirely sure what that dynamic usually looks like, but
Yeah. I mean, I've learned so much from Darren and Jonah, especially. I kind of was a student as well as a friend of theirs, and it was cool to see what the inner workings of the touring stuff looked like as a professional, looking at them and being like, oh, okay, because I struggled for a while to take it seriously. I would just be like, this is just me singing songs. It's not heart surgery. I'm not doing anything crazy. And I would see them taking it seriously and how that was reflected in the show. And I think the craziest example is I opened for a band called Kaleo, who truly were like a top 5 influence on me in my sort of like mid-teen years, and maybe late teen, I don't know. But I listened to them voraciously, and I found myself opening up for them and then sitting at a dinner table with them after the show. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to let this go to waste. And I asked them questions, and they were so gracious in giving me advice. And it was also really cool to see a lot of the similarities between like an artist headlining a 250 cap room and an artist headlining a 5,000 cap amphitheater, in the way that they approached everything professionally. And there was a lot of gratitude. And so I'm trying to learn a lot because I'm so new to this.
Yeah. I find, again, like in completely different spectrums, but I find I try to do the same in the space I'm in. There's a lot of people that have been in the music industry a lot longer than me, and kind of dealing with these types of things. And up front, it was very, very intimidating for sure. The more I kind of get acquainted with it, the more attainable and able to work through it feels. So that's kind of a nice. And everybody, again, at least for has been really gracious and kind, and sometimes almost too much to like my own mental detriment, because I feel like it's like fake at times, but it hasn't been.
That's beautiful. I mean, I feel like you had your own like meteoric rise, where by the time when I discovered you, suddenly you were just like everywhere, and it's probably hard to be like, I'm a tastemaker now. Like people are looking to me to like tell them what they'll probably like. It's a really cool thing that you've been able to do.
It's a very, very odd space. Yeah, it happened absurdly quickly. Like looking back on it, like it happened over the span of like a year, which is not normal.
Yeah, that's basically overnight, Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not normal by any stretch of the imagination, and I didn't have any grasp of that prior, because prior to doing this, my social media experience was posting Instagram photos of my weekend trip to like my 180 friends. So I have zero experience outside of any of this. So yeah, I was just like, oh, this is sweet. Posting videos from my house and then working at a warehouse for like 10 hours a day. Felt sweet. And then all of a sudden it's like 500,000 people follow you. You're like, what the hell? Like everybody at the warehouse knows that you do this now, and it's
they're waiting for you to quit.
Odd. It's very, very odd. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a wild ride for me as well, to say the least. So if you had to pick a song out of your catalog, maybe not the most popular one, but just one you're most proud of, which one would that be?
I don't know that I have one answer. I would say the first song I ever put out was called August, and that song occupies a very like distinct place in my mind because it's sort of like its own thing. It was very cathartic. It was something that represented like a many years long difficult journey that I went on. And it was the first thing I ever put out. I think there's a song called The Man by the Coast, which was a 2021 song that I played in large part this year on tour that I always will love. I've always tried to write music that doesn't represent, like if it represents a point in time, it encompasses like all of my feelings about a lot of big things, and I find that stands the test of time. And so I can look back at most of my songs and be like, this covers a lot of ground. I think The Man by the Coast covers some of the most ground. And it's a song that like introduced me to a certain narrative style of writing that I'm excited about because it kind of informed one song in particular that is going to be the last song in the album that I've recorded. But I do love character-driven narratives, you know. So I would say those two in terms of the back catalog. But I'm so proud of the new stuff from Orpheus. I couldn't have possibly dreamt of being able to do what I've done with this, and it's entirely because of, again, like the community of people that have stuck around and allowed me to tell this sort of like linear-ish narrative.
Yeah. What about maybe a song or even an artist that you think more people should listen to?
That's a good one. I would say one of my closest friends, Matt Howie, he opened up for me on my tour, and we played a bunch together, and we lived together in LA for a year. His voice is outstanding. I mean, I wish more people, like I always want more people to listen to Jonah Kagen. I always want more people to listen to Darren Kiely. Let's see, I could probably come up with a laundry list response to this because I do feel like there's a category that I'm kind of falling into now of people that are like probably deserve huge careers that are gonna have them. I love Lily Fitz. She's like just kind of starting out as well. She's put out I think 4 or 5 songs. She's unbelievable. I would say start there.
Yeah. I always love that's like one of my favorite questions to ask artists because it's such a, you know, it's one thing being like on my side where like I have a distinct taste, and I always love kind of hearing what other artists have to say about that.
I have another good one is this kid Harrison Bowe. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's probably got like 100,000 monthly listeners, and he reached out to me a little bit ago, and I've had a lot. It's cool because a lot of fans that come to shows will give me music recs, and he's one of the ones that a bunch of people in Denver were like, you gotta listen to this kid Harrison, and I listened. I was like, oh my god, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's cool to also be able to talk to those people. Elliot Greer is another one. I don't know why he's not the biggest artist in the entire world. I saw him live in LA, and I don't think I've ever been so absolutely starstruck and blown away by somebody's talent. I would say everyone should listen to him immediately.
Sweet, man. I don't know if I know Elliot Greer, but I'll have to definitely take a listen. So kind of in terms of I always like to ask everybody this too, is in terms of therapy or I guess really just in that sense of do you do therapy, and then 2 is I know you're new into this, do you think there's enough like resources out there for artists or people in the industry as a whole to kind of be able to take care of that side of things?
Yeah, I am in therapy. It was sort of a thing that got too bad, and I kind of was like, all right, this is long overdue. It's one of those stories that I'm sure is very typical where I have a lot of very, very close people in my life that have really deep issues. And I kind of resisted the idea that I needed, therapy because I was always used to trying to be a resource for other people, that I cared about in my family and my close friends and relatives. And yeah, therapy has changed a lot for me already. And I'm, somewhat new into it. I've been in for about a year now. And yeah, I think as far as the industry goes, it's a very predatory industry. I think it's a hard industry to stay grounded in, especially with the social media stuff, especially with how hard it is to make a living and an income. I think like artist to artist stuff has been really good for me to like connect to other artists directly. I think I'm too new in the industry to be able to speak, coherently on like what type of resources have been great for artists. But yeah, it's something that I hope there is an industry around being able to give artists mental health resources and resources to help. But I think artist communities are probably the most important thing for staying grounded in this career path.
Yeah, I think that I would kind of agree there too. Like I'm like 2 years into therapy, and I still find at times that just like, talking to somebody who's kind of going through the same thing, really, or in the same spot, it really helps. Goes a long way for sure. So I guess kind of wrapping up too, man, I'm going to give you a spot to like, you got the album you're working on. I think you got a tour coming up. Talk to us about what you got coming next and what to look for.
Yeah. Crazy to say this, but I'm doing a headline tour that's going to hit kind of the large markets in the East Coast, a few more markets on the West Coast, and then Dublin and London. We're going to go over there, or I'm going to go over there. And yeah, I'm going to put out a new song, I think, in September, and I'm going to cautiously roll out what I believe is my sort of debut album that will tell a lot more of this story that I've been building about Orpheus and Eurydice and grief and love and growing up and fading. And there's 9 more songs in that project that I haven't put out yet. So I'm excited for people to come on tour. That's the place that I think the connection is the deepest. And I'm excited for everyone to hear the rest of this album because there's some pretty deep cutting songs that I haven't put out yet that are going to be some tearjerkers. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for you. And again, appreciate you taking the time, talking a little bit here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been really beautiful, and I'm really happy that we connected.
Yeah.
For the listeners that don't know, also, if you've ever heard my song Somewhere, that's directly because of Matt and the posting that he did for that song. So I'm very grateful for all that he's done for me too.